I went to a class by a woman who she had a direct communication with angels, and it was beautiful. I remember getting to that place where I felt the melding, that lift. When I felt that change, it was like, oh, and I got all scared and I stopped. I wouldn't meditate anymore. I got scared because they brainwash you that this stuff is evil. I feel like I wasted so many years, but a big part of what I want to say today to anybody who's ever drawn to this, none of it's wasted. None of it's wasted.
This is the last week to sign up for Alchemy, my 8-week intensive course designed to propel you into a natural opening of the heart and profound spiritual awakening. There's only a few spots left, so sign up now. If you've been feeling stuck, limited, or overwhelmed and you want to become a powerful, effortless manifester, to experience heart-based consciousness, live effortlessly and flow and watch life open up before you, this is the course for you. I can't wait to see you there.
I am here today with Kelly Bowker. Kelly has been on quite a ride here because she was raised in religion to where she is today, being a medium and a channel. So thank you so much for joining me, Kelly.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Let's start at the beginning and let's hear about your journey. I know that you have a religious background, and so I would love to hear about what that journey was like for you.
Well, I live in a very small town in rural Maine, population under 1,000. And when I was a little girl, there was only one church. There's more now, as with typical towns, but there was just one church, and it was a Baptist church. And I definitely was born a seeker. I was born, I wouldn't say that I'm full of questions, but I was born with a heart that just was reaching out for the greater aspect of whatever life was. And so my mom and dad were not particularly religious. They both had their own spirituality, but I managed to get myself to church. And, I'd get rides with people and stuff. It was really my own volition. And when they would talk about the love of Jesus and they would talk about the love of God and us being the children of God and one with God, my heart would just open and I would feel that Holy Spirit so strongly. And now I know that that's exactly what I was feeling. I was feeling the Holy Spirit. The Spirit is holy. The connection is holy. It's beautiful. And so I would feel that, Meg, just that pull and that beautiful, loving feeling. But then they would start talking about that all my Catholic friends were going to go to hell, and all my Jehovah's Witness friends were going to hell, and all my Mormon friends were going to hell. And it never made sense. It just didn't make sense to me, even as a little girl. I remember in the Baptist church, they always do the call, give your life to Jesus. You got to get called up front. Well, if nobody would raise their hand that needed to be saved, then they would go to the next thing. Well, if you love Jesus, then you need to come up front. Well, I would have this internal struggle because I had been called up front tons and tons of times. And I'm in my head going, I love you. I don't need to prove it. And then finally I would be like, no, I have to do it. It's like I have to humble myself. So I would go up to the front. Well, I remember, and I'd go, do the whole thing. Oh, finally this day of empowerment happened. I was probably a young teenager, quite young teenager. And I remember praying before I went to church, and I said, God, you know how much I love you. No matter what they say, I am not going down front, because the vibe of it didn't resonate with me, that call. It just felt pushy and it just didn't resonate. But I said, you know how much I love you. And so I went and they did the call, and I didn't go down front. And it was so hard for me because I just felt all this love. But yeah, so that was my beginning, dedicating my life to God. And I, fast forward, I met my husband it was the summer before my senior year of high school, and very, very spiritual girl, not really going to church by that point. My going to church, that kind of got beat out of me pretty young. I just couldn't live with those ideas of these people being cast into hell. That just I couldn't handle that. So I met my husband, but then through young marriage, reignited again a little bit in the church again with the whole fundamentalist belief in marriage and then I should be submissive. And this is not a very submissive girl looking at you right now. Didn't come by nature. And my husband had no expectation. He was not. It wasn't him. I was the one that thought, I want to do what I'm supposed to do. I want to make Jesus happy. I want to make God smile, all that stuff. And so I struggled and led that kind of a life, push me, pull you. My husband and I, if you've ever watched my videos, we drink. When you're a Baptist, drinking is a sin. You're going to hell if you're going to be drinking. So that was always an inner conflict because my family were all drinkers. And it was always conflict. It was always carrying the guilt. It was always the guilt of not being enough, not doing enough. You never was enough. And so I lived battling all that kind of thing for years and years and years. And I would say when I was in my late 30s, early 40s, the very first channeled material that resonated with me was Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh. I read those and they resonated, but I still felt that, I'm not supposed to be reading that stuff. That's naughty, that's bad, because it's channeled. And they brainwash you that this stuff is evil. You're not even supposed to meditate because you're not supposed to surrender your mind because your mind's going to get taken over. I remember going to a beautiful class, somewhere in the years. I went to a class by a woman who was she had a direct communication with angels and it was beautiful. And I got all excited about the angels. And I remember coming home and meditating. And I remember getting to that place in meditation where I felt the melding, that lift, what I'm talking about when you feel that change. When I felt that change, it was like, oh, and I got all scared and I stopped. I wouldn't meditate anymore. I get scared because that feeling, that movement that I felt, it was terrible, just terrible. I feel like I wasted so many years, but a big part of what I want to say today to your audience and to anybody who's ever drawn to this, none of it's wasted. None of it's wasted. It's all your joy. And I have said to my guides many times since this awakening, why now? Why when I'm 60 years old? I'm turning 61. Tomorrow's my birthday. And it's like, why now? Well, why couldn't I have woken up so many years ago when I had all that love in my heart? But it just wasn't time. It just wasn't time. And so I melded in, and with the first time that I was introduced to Abraham Hicks, Jerry and Esther Hicks.
Yeah.
They were a huge player in my life. And it resonated completely. And it was like, that was what lifted the burden of the beliefs mostly off me. But it didn't do it all because I missed praying. And once I got into the law of attraction and The Secret and Abraham Hicks and all that stuff, I didn't know how to pray. I didn't know who I was supposed to pray to. I felt very adrift. I had this, I loved my prayer life when I was young. I could just open my heart and connect to the universe and God. And I felt that Holy Spirit inside me. And I missed that, but I didn't know how, if I'm creating my own world, who am I supposed to be praying to? It was a very confusing time, but I was very good at the law of attraction. I was able to manifest beautifully because of my passion. I'm a passionate and my heart, I just have a big heart and a lot of love. And so it was not hard for me to raise my vibration. And so once I realized that's how I could create, I was very successful at that for a long time. Now it's come full circle. Now I had gone, like my story goes, that I'd kind of had some years where I started to get ill. One thing after another, I wasn't okay. I just wasn't happy. I write about this in my first book. I say I'm a half a bubble off plum. That's a main saying. I just wasn't really okay. And I started some counseling. And it was the counselor who said to me, look up what it means to be an empath. And that was like, boom, that's where it all started.
Kelly, thank you so much for sharing. I have so many questions just from that part of your story. So first of all, really resonate when you say that you were a seeker and you took the initiative to get yourself to church and to seek this spiritual path, because I was always very much the same way. So I really relate to that you've been so open to the spiritual path and since such a young age. And I also really appreciate how you pointed out that none of the journey is wasted. That time when you were in the Christian faith was meant to be. It was an important step in your journey. And I think that so many people who have a religious background and then end up deconstructing can just feel so lost. Like, first of all, what was the point of that part of my life? Why didn't I wake up sooner? And secondly, how do I rebuild this foundation?
Right. I had a beautiful download somewhere in the last year and a half. I think might have even been at the beginning of writing my second book. I don't really remember, but I remember somebody said to me something like, how do you explain how fast everything is happening for you?
Mm-hmm.
So I went into meditation, and what I would do is I'd go into meditation. I'd put my phone in my chest. I'd do the voice memo thing, and I would just kind of get into that altered state, and I would start channeling, and I would record it. And I'm aware to varying degrees according to how altered I get, but I'm always aware. I can always hear. So they taught me early on to state my question in my mind, and then that they would repeat it so it would be on my recorder. So I went into my meditation and I said that. I said, how is this happening so fast for me? And I know other people who have been open to this kind of thing for years, but they haven't had the channeling come or the light language come. Why? I don't understand why. And they said, they gave me the most beautiful, beautiful, beautiful download. They said every time, they actually showed me in my mind, they show me pictures a lot. They showed me fast, all these pictures of people praying, like a little kid on their knees beside their bed, and the man with the turban, and the different church buildings. I mean, it's like just wicked fast into my mind. So all these way of praying, and they also showed me as a little girl going to sleep. I was lonely and I felt unloved and unwanted, and I would hold my cross. I had this cross. It was about 3 inches tall, and I would hold my cross, and it would make me feel close to Jesus to get to sleep. And I'd picture God's hands cupped around me, holding me tight. And I felt that presence, and I felt that safety, and it was there. It was absolutely there. It's just a different name. It's just a different language to talk. But they said that every time we pray like that, or every time that our hearts feel like what my heart feels like right now, that welling up of there's just so much and so much love, so much appreciation, that we are creating beautiful, beautiful crystalline threads of energy. They have shown me these beautiful threads, and they said those threads never go away. Because I always felt like I would do good for a while, and I'd do my stuff every morning, and I'd say my prayers, and I'd read the Bible, and I'd do whatever. I'd do good. Then I'd backslide, and I wouldn't be paying attention, and I wouldn't be doing good. And I just always had all this guilt. I'm not enough. I'm not doing it right. I'm not doing enough. They said that every time that we do what we see as backsliding, that's a Christian term, every time we do that, they don't even see that. They don't see that. That's nothing. That don't hit any radar. But when we open our hearts and we pray, and our hearts reach out with love, that energy never goes away. So we have all been creating, they said, we're creating a bridge between ourselves and across the veil. That this energy, every time that we connect, every time we breathe into our hearts and we connect, we create that energy, that beautiful crystalline energy, and we're creating a bridge to across the veil. And then in this lifetime, if you are fortunate, if everything lines up, you learn to walk on that bridge. But the bridge is there whether you're walking on it or not. It's there.
That is so inspiring. And I have to say, it reminds me of a near-death experiencer that I interviewed named Nancy Rhines. And in her experience, she saw a crystalline grid of energy that was, she said it was like an 8 or 9 dimensional shape, but it was love. Like what you're saying, making up everything. And she said the same thing as you, that when we live from a place of love, we're strengthening that. And you're saying it never goes away. Like once it's created, it's there for good.
Yep.
That's
and
amazing.
So you can let yourself off the human hook of judgment, that human self-judgment or judgment of others. And I'm here to tell you, I appreciate the kind words of that it's inspiring. It's not me. Kelly Colleen is listening just like you are, learning and growing and trying and failing and succeeding just like everybody else. But it's so beautiful because that message can come through. And that judgment of beating up on yourself. Just recently, I went to a family gathering. My surface behavior was perfect. I did not do anything except be perfectly fine in the situation. But inside, I was feeling grumpy. I was feeling a little judgy. And I come home and my hubby says, we go out on the boat. My hubby's like, yeah, I'm not okay. What's going on with you? And I'm like, I'm so mad at myself. This is literally like 5 days ago. I said, I'm so mad at myself. And he said, honey, why are you mad at yourself? And I said, because I was feeling all this negative grump when I was there. And there's no need of that. There's no need of that. And so, of course, I took that into meditation the next morning. And I'm like, why do I still get pulled into that? And they said, it's the practice. It's the practice. They gave me the most beautiful download once. My husband watches Gunsmoke. Those that are 50 and up, you're going to know what I'm talking about. So he loves Gunsmoke. And on Gunsmoke, there's Festus Hagen. And Festus Hagen is the deputy, and he drives the buggy. He drives the buggy. So I'm in the shower one day asking exactly that. Why are we so good sometimes? Some days feel so easy, and then the next day it's so damn hard. They showed me Festus holding the rein of a team of horses, and it's out in the bumpy, like bumpity bump, bump, bump. And the wagon is going and everything's going, and he's pulling the wagon over, and then he hits the smooth sailing. And then the ride is nice. And they said, every time you steer your wagon back to the smooth ground, you are closer, you are stronger, you are more focused, you are better at what you want to be. You're adding to that grid. You are adding to that beautiful bridge. And we just have to remind ourselves, because the quicker, a beautiful lady, oh gosh, what was her name? Lansong was her last name. Robin Lansong. Oh my God. Her energy just touched my heart so much. But someone asked her a question on an interview, and they said, do you still get triggered? And she said, it's not about not getting triggered. It's about how fast you come back to balance.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, I loved that. It was like, oh my gosh. So don't beat up on yourself. The universe loves that we're practicing. The universe loves that we're making those strides, and they don't see when we're not. They don't take note. They don't count it. It doesn't even hit the radar. I just love that. I wish I could live it and own it. I love it, and I strive to know it and own it. That I can say.
Kelley, I love your honesty.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So we're talking about finding the smooth path and coming back into balance when we're triggered. Do you have any advice, or have they given you any information on how to come back into balance more effectively?
Oh gosh, yes. Oh gosh, yes. My second book, Establishing Your Frequency, is full of tips, tricks, and hacks. And that's how they said it. And when they said it like that to me, I'm like, seriously, we can't use the words tips, tricks, and hacks. I said to them, it's too commercial. And they said, the reason humans can use hacks now is because the vibration is so much faster. they do need hacks. You don't need to meditate for 2 hours to connect. We do. We really and truly can use hacks. So yes, indeed, there are. That makes me want to talk about the inner child work.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because, so how do you bring yourself back into balance? I think we're human. I think that there are certain things we can't jump over. And in the beginning of their teaching to me, there was a lot of work around the inner child and around the relationship between me and me. Okay. And they said that needs to be in place before all the other stuff is going to come in, because it's what helps you to consciously and deliberately navigate your frequency.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just bounced along in your life without deliberateness, without intention, then it's too haphazard. So they gave me this. They said, I'm going to ask them to help me to just guide me so that I don't go too far off track. They said that there's never been a time in history when so many people understood the idea of our subconscious mind. Basic, normal, and no judgments here, but even uneducated people that have not gone on to college know about the subconscious mind. People know that now. It's in mainstream everything. We also now have a very broad understanding that many of our subconscious programs were laid down between 0 and 7 to 9 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is a mainstream concept. This isn't spirituality. This is psychology.
Right.
This is psychology. This is known. They said there's also never been a time in history when the average person could go on to a device, this thing right here, find all the answers to their questions about stuff. So they said, think about what's happening. So you've got the Mother Earth is changing. Mother Earth is turning up. As I say that, my hands are starting to shake. She's turning things up. It's all turning up. Everybody who is connected feel the drawing forward. That's very intentional. We're being pulled forward to be more enlightened. So people are striving. They don't feel okay in their skin. They feel a half a bubble off one, just like I did. All of my normal coping mechanisms weren't working. I was a 57 or so year old woman with lots, educated woman, a nurse, had a huge toolbox full of tools. Nothing was working, and my inner voice was getting grumpy. What I needed to understand was I needed to own all of the aspects of me, which means that subconscious programming, that inner child. So the way I explain it to people, Mel, is this. This is just a way of looking at it, okay? Just one of many, many, many ways, but this is a way. Think of the continuum of emotion and think of neutral being right in the center. That's your adult self. Your adult self is neutral, powerful individual. You see a hole in the boat, you get the duct tape and you put it on the hole. You don't get all panicky. You just do what's got to be done. That's your adult self, is that clear-minded, strong-minded, powerful woman that you are, the adult Kelley. Then you have all of this spectrum of emotions. You got the joy and the wonder and the fun. That's from your inner child too. But then you've got the anxiety and you got the depression and the sadness and the not okay. That's from your inner child too. That's the inner child navigating. So when we're trying to deal with a difficult situation and our inner child is inside screaming because they're scared, we don't have all our tools. We can't access that beautiful, neutral human, that adult. We can't access that. So what my guides have shown me, and this is using my counselor gave me some of the nuts and bolts of this, and then my guides took it and just went with it with me. But they said, when you don't have to wait for a big trigger I use the phone because we all have our cell phones in our hands all the time. You see somebody has called and you get that feeling. That's a baby trigger, okay? You get that, it's like, you know, but you answer it, you talk, you do what you got to do and you deal with it. Well, you're about your day, you don't have time, but hopefully you have time either in the evening or in the morning when you're having I call it my quiet time, my spirit time. You say to your inner child, you breathe into the adult, you breathe it in. Adult Kelley, strong, powerful woman. Yep. Okay. I got that energy. And then you picture your child, your inner child off to the side, and you say to her, what was that? Why were you upset? Why were you upset about talking to Joe on the phone yesterday or this morning or whenever? And then you hold space. You hold space for your inner child to speak, because a lot of us were not allowed to talk when we were kids. A lot of us were told to shut up. A lot of us were told to go to your room. I'll give you something to cry about. A lot of us have those experiences. Certainly more do than don't. Yeah. That is the truth. Sadly, but God bless, they've given us tools now to work out through it, which is wonderful. So you say to your little girl, why are you feeling like that? And then I consciously shift out of the energy of that adult into the energy of being the inner child. And I use my phone to do it. I put the recording on and I talk so that I can listen back to it. And I let myself go right into that. I don't want to talk to her. She's rotten. and then adult Kelley says, well, why do you think she's rotten, honey? Just like if I were talking to my grandchild, well, baby, why do you think she's rotten? Well, she always makes me feel bad, like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. I don't like that. She's rotten. Oh, do you feel like it's your responsibility to make her happy? Well, no, and then you just have a conversation. You go right back and forth. And you do that, Mel, you do that until you don't need to. And then you're going to ride it smooth for a while, and then something's going to trigger you, but now you've got your tool. And you take yourself into your own space and you say, why are you feeling like this? I've had amazing breakthroughs of things like being afraid that I was going to be hungry. Adult Kelley was nervous about going on a trip. And I couldn't figure out, why am I nervous? What am I nervous about? Finally, the guide slapped me in the head and said, you're not practicing what you preach. Sit down and ask your inner child. And so I did. And she was afraid, what if there's not enough food? And then I remembered being a kid left with babysitters when I was young, and there not being enough. I didn't starve, but there wasn't enough. And I was cold. Because that was another thing she said to me. Well, what if it's cold? What if there's not enough blankets? And so then I was able to say to my inner child, baby, I will put blankets in the car and I will take a bag of our own snacks, all our favorite stuff. We will have everything we need. And don't you worry, sweetheart. I've got enough money. I've got gas. If you're not comfortable, we'll leave. You don't have to be scared. I got your back. I've got you in this. And you create this relationship between you and you. And to just add another little piece to this is people like us most of us that have been on this journey, we've learned the value of positive self-talk. Talk yourself out of the tree. Everything's fine. Take a breath. You're okay. Come on, we're going to do this. Blah, blah, blah. You're great. You can do it. Positive self-talk. That's adult to adult. Adult to child is different. Coaxing that child to say what she wants to say. Playing with that child. Wake up in the morning and say to her, what kind of magic are we going to see today? What kind of miracles are coming today? What are we going to do for fun? I have to go to Lincoln to get my groceries. I say to my inner child, I want to buy you a surprise. What do you want? My mother used to call it a surprise, instead of all word. What do you want for a surprise? And then I fall into that energy of inner child and I go, what do I want? I don't know. Well, maybe I want lobster today. Maybe I want this, I don't know, whatever it is. And but there's that energy and that beautiful self-care and self-nurturing. If I don't feel okay, adult Kelley says, baby, what is the matter? You're not feeling like yourself. And just having somebody ask you, what can I do? adult Kelly says to inner Kelly, what can I do to make you feel better, honey? What can I do for you right now? And it might be, well, I'd love to have a cup of tea. Oh, sweetheart, I'm going to get you a cup of tea. I'm going to put it in your favorite mug. And you know what? I know where you hide the cookies. I'm going to get you a cookie to go with it. And then there's that part of you that just goes, oh, that would be awesome. I love that. And you nurture yourself. You nurture yourself. And that has been incredibly powerful for me so far.
Kelley, thank you so much for sharing. I've never heard anything quite like that. There's a lot of talk about healing your inner child, but I love the details and the specifics you gave there. And I also want you to know that that was very much something that I needed to hear right now with what I'm going through in my life. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, that makes my heart so happy. You know, we as women, particularly if we come from a religious background, we are taught to give until it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
But other people first, always. You have to, if you love Jesus, you're going to do for the world. You're not, you don't even think about yourself. But think of all the different things in the Bible that says, love thy neighbor as you love yourself. That means you're loving yourself.
Mm.
Oh, I mean, and it is just such an important part of our lives to learn. I do one-to-one meetings with people. I'm sure we'll put my email address below, but I do one-to-ones and people will say to me, what is my purpose? I want to help people. But what they really need to hear is for me to say to them, baby, you need to take care of you. You need to take care of you and learn those skills. And when you are loving you, when you are giving 100% to yourself and nurturing, my guides have said, shining light that we can shine on other people, turn that light onto yourself and give yourself what you need. One morning, I think you'll love this. One more. My house was a disaster. I'd had the kids all weekend, the family. It was a disaster. And I'm like, I don't feel like cleaning this friggin' house, right? And so I said to him, come on, give me something that's going to make this better. And so they came through and they said, one of my dearest friends' name is Jeanette. They said, if you went into Jeanette's house and Jeanette was feeling overwhelmed and you knew she was overwhelmed because her house needed to be clean, how would you feel cleaning her house for her?
Mm.
And I thought, oh my God, my heart would be full.
Right.
It's so great to think that I could do this for this woman that I love and that is so precious to me. I would do it with such a happy heart.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, ding, ding, ding. That's right. And so all it takes is a click on the dial. You walk into your bathroom needs to be clean, and you do this. And sometimes we just knuckle under and we get the shit and we do what we have to do and we clean the bathroom. But how different the energy is if you take just a minute and you go, uh-oh. And that negative feeling is not the neutral, right? It's inner child. So you turn onto yourself and you go, oh, pumpkin, you really don't want to clean this bathroom, do you? And my inner self says, no, I don't. So then my adult self says something like, oh gosh, you know what? I know how you love it when it is all spit polished and sparkling. You love it when it is neat as a pin. And then I'm like, yeah, I really do. And then I say to myself, I love you so much. I'm going to clean that bathroom for you, and it is going to be just the way you like it. We're going to put on your favorite music while you do it. We're going to put your AirPods in, and you're going to listen to you were going to listen to Mel do a wonderful interview on her station, and it's going to be fun, and you're going to enjoy it. And then the energy is different. The energy, and you're doing it, and it's like, I'm doing this for someone I love. I'm going to get that extra clean because Kelley likes it that way. I'm going to do that just perfect because that's the way Kelley likes it. And it is so nurturing, and it's turning that nurturing. And when you do that, you guys, you're not disappointed in the people around you. The husband who leaves his sock on the floor, you don't, you're not so quick to want to smack him. 42 years of marriage, I know about smacking husbands. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. But that feeling of, geez, of that, he don't value me. They don't appreciate me, blah, blah, blah. Because your tank is filled because you're filling your own tank. And we can because we have the cosmic connection, and it will just keep filling us and keep filling us and keep filling us. Now, do I do that all the time? No. Do I wish I did? Yes. Do I bitch when I clean my bathroom some days? But do I know this to be true? Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I love that so much. Kelley, I want to switch gears a little bit and ask you, you are a medium and a channel, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Which one came first in your life, or did they both start at the same time?
So there was a person in my life. First of all, I had a very small understanding of any of it. So I really didn't even understand that there was a difference. Okay. I knew that people, I had this foggy idea that people have their guides, and I always knew that there was the angels out there. But, it was like, I've known people who've said, they connect to their guides and stuff. And it's like, okay, I didn't understand it. So I had this person who had a tragedy in their life, and she shared with me one day and said, I wish I could go to a medium. This was before anything happened. And I said, why can't you, hon? And she goes, because I don't want God to be mad at me. And that broke my heart. And so when I also come to find out that her loved one who passed was part of my guides, and she was booting me. It was her daughter, and she was nudging me and whacking me and thrashing with me and bringing me along, because when I'd start to lose my focus, I know that young lady was whacking me in the head, bringing me back, because she wanted me to help her mother. So I looked into the whole empath thing. That was a minute and a half. I didn't research much about that. I quickly found Suzanne Giesemann, who is a beautiful teacher and beautiful light and very left brain. I'm not terribly left brain, but I had that religious dogma telling me it was all bad and naughty and terrible. And so Suzanne's approach with that beautiful concrete evidence took some of that away. That was a big help. So January of that year, so I can't remember, was it 22? Yeah, January of 22, I began channeling like around the 11th. During that time, so I was doing lots of meditation and having lots of experiences, feeling them touching me, touching my hands, seeing orbs and lights and things. And they were trying to get my attention. I tried to do the automatic writing thing, and I can't spell. So I would get meditating and I'd start to write, and I'd get to a word that I couldn't spell. It would bring me out of my meditation. So I had learned, my counselor had told me to journal to my inner child. And the same thing would happen. I would get a good flow going, and then I'd get stymied because I can't spell. So I started talking to my inner child on my app on my phone. So Suzanne talks about her start and how she started by doing the automatic writing. That didn't work for me. My husband was going to be gone for the weekend. I had all kinds of time, and I thought to myself, I don't even know that I knew that it was channeling. I guess I had to. But I just thought, I'm going to just try to talk it. I'm just going to try to talk it. So I moved into meditation. I lay my phone on my chest, and because they're guiding me. And during my meditations up to this point, I'd be walking down the hall to the room that I meditated in, and I'd get this impulse. I didn't realize my guides were whispering in my ear, lights on, meditate with the lights on. We'll do music today. No music, sitting up, laying down. They were having me because you can't do mediumship and be laying down with your eyes closed with a mask on and music. You can't, you've got to be able to interact. So they had me in training even then. And my first book really kind of shows that, how they had me in training until finally the pieces come together in this thick skull of mine, and I got it. So I I went into meditation and I just started to kind of like chant. I kept saying, let the words come, let the words come. And to give a hack or a trick to people that are trying to do this, I use the example of putting the vehicle into gear. Like if you're trying to bring through light language or you're trying to learn to channel, start talking. Don't sit like this, because then they have to get your mouth into gear. It's easier if you're talking already. So just start talking. And so I just started talking, I really want to do this. Thank you for helping me. Thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. And I just started talking. And I just, as I'm doing this, my jaw started to shake because they've come through quite easily now. But I just started to say, let the words come. Let the words come. Step back, step back, step back. And now I realize what they were trying to get me to do is pull my consciousness back, pull my consciousness out of the way. And then they just started to talk. And they had, that first time they had kind of I had a weird accent, kind of, and they identified themselves because I asked, because I had watched enough YouTube videos to think I was supposed to ask. So I asked what their name was, and they gave me Lacroose, which I didn't understand for a long time, represents to me. Now, whether it does in another language, I don't speak any other languages, I don't know. But it represents the cross and what the cross meant to me. And so I was tapping into that Holy Spirit energy that I've always been able to feel. And the rest, as they say, is history. I started to talk. And then, of course, you think you're batshit crazy. You do. You think you're nuts because it's like, I got to be making this up. I'm making this up. I got to be making this up. And of course, at the beginning, it was me asking questions in my head, and they would say, you have asked, blah, 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 blah. And then they would go up, they'd give the answer. And I'm not saying it flowed easy. It didn't. It took long periods of dead space, and me chanting the words, and then I'd be able to allow them to talk. And it took a little bit of time. But yeah, I channeled. And then I got brave. They said that they told me I needed to start telling people. And so I told a couple of ladies that I worked with who both had losses in their life. And I asked them, I said, can I try to connect with your loved ones and see if they'll give me any evidence in my meditations in the morning? And they said, yes. So I go into my meditation and I write down a bunch of stuff from both of them. First time trying to do that. But I get pictures. I mean, it's crazy. I get these pictures and I get words and I write this down. I'm freaking spot on. I go to school and I share with these two ladies, and I hit it. I nail it. I bring through beautiful evidence. So then in the next morning, they say to me, I do this for a few days. Then they say, you need to make an appointment. You need to do your first mediumship reading. Okay. All right. That's what you say. Okay. I will be done. I will be done. So one of my friends at work, we make the appointment for the following day at 3:00. I wake up that morning and go into meditation, and I just cry out to my guide. I'm effing scared. I am scared. I'm scared. I'm scared. And I use lots of the words in between. I'm scared. What am I going to do? Oh my gosh, Mel. They gave me a step by step because they know me. They know how my mind works, and I need to know how to do stuff. I'm a teacher. I need a checklist, They gave me a checklist. They downloaded a beautiful checklist of, you walk into the room, you're going to clear the energy of the room. You're going to ground your sitter. You're going to ground you. You're going to blah, blah, blah. They gave me exactly beautiful, beautiful download. And I met with her. I had no idea that everybody didn't channel in mediumship. I didn't know that was a thing because I've never even been to a medium. And I ended up channeling after I brought through lots and lots of evidence. I would feel them pushing behind my face. They wanted to talk. And I'd feel this pressure and I'd be in my head because of Suzanne. Now I know that's not my path. Doing it this way is not my path. But at the time, it's what I needed to do. So it was beautiful. But you have to give me evidence before I can let you talk. And they would be pushing. I would feel my chest. It was like, oh my God, it was almost uncomfortable. But they would like drop this and drop that. And finally there'd be enough. So I'd say to my sitter, do you know for sure it's your loved one? And they would say yes. And then then it was like easy. I would just relax. Whoosh, they'd come through and they would talk. And they would talk and talk and talk and ask questions. And they would say things like, tell her she's not telling you the truth. And it would be just this incredible conversation. It lasted a whole hour. The first one I did a mediumship reading, it was a whole hour and I'd never done it. And I thought that was normal until I got diving into that stuff online, and people would talk about holding the link to be able to establish the link and hold the link. If you can hold the link for however many minutes, you're doing good. And I'm like, I don't get that, because the link stays until I tell it to go. And that is my experience. It still is my experience. But mediumship is a very small part of what I do now. I say to people that if what I do is this, mediumship is this, because we know that a personality is a tiny fractal of the oversoul, which is a tiny fractal of the all, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I'm channeling, I can reach, and now I'm knowing that I reach beyond this dimension and beyond this realm, and I reach to the highest that's needed in this moment. So I'm reaching to this instead of this little tiny personality that you got to focus. I feel like when I do that, it's more work. I have to pull this. This is what it feels like. Pull in and focus as opposed to just let go and open. It's easier for me to do the channeling. Very much easier.
That's interesting. I've never heard the difference described like that. Oh, Kelley, I could talk to you so much longer, but I would love to ask you if there's one more message that you'd like to share that's really stood out to you, or that you feel you'd like to share with the viewers.
I would love to just bring through and get out of the way and let them share something.
Okay.
That they want to share. So I'm going to just take a couple of breaths, ground my beautiful energy down to Mother Earth. Yara kuturu kamazita, tarukuma nana kira katotorkoza katrikiana makatotor kamazita rakamaka oto turkoma miana katoto. Azi kira katoro miana katira katatoruana sikira katarakata. Open your hearts, dear ones. Ari katarukumozo kira kara kono. Let the frequency of the language of light come into your heart. Say yes to the frequencies coming into every cell within your body. Many who watch your show, dear one, has roots within what you would call religious background. You have done an amazing job at lifting veils off eyes and opening hearts to a broader perspective. What we would say to all of those people out there who are battling the inner conflict of feeling the sense of moreness, but also the sense of the foundational building blocks that has been their religious background up to this point. We would say to you all, dear ones, to embrace it all. If it is done out of love, it is not wrong. The one sitting beside you may practice the same thing out of judgment. If you choose to practice it out of love and compassion, and that beautiful turning that mirror onto yourself, you are doing the right thing. It doesn't matter whether you sit on a pew or whether you sit on a beach. It matters not. The energy is all one. The energy is one within the churches. The energy is one within all religious buildings. The buildings matter not. It's the heart. It is the frequency that you allow in your own heart to shine. That is the thing for you to tend to. If there is anything to give attention to the relationship between you and you. Shine the love that the universe has for each and every one of you. We see you as perfect in this moment. You are doing it all absolutely correct in this moment. The present moment is all you have, dear ones. Sink into it with the love that the universe has for you and let it shine out and back again. And that will lead you in the direction you are being pulled.
Kelley, thank you so much for sharing. I want to thank your guides also for sharing. That was just beautiful. It reminds me of when Jesus says in, I think, the book of John, that it doesn't matter if you worship in the temple or on the mountain. You're worshiping the same God.
Exactly right.
The same one, to put it in non-religious language. We're all connecting with the same thing.
Exactly. It's exactly right. So, it's been such a pleasure. I've enjoyed this so much.
Me too. Thank you so much, Kelley. Would you like to share with the viewers where they can find you?
I can't figure out how to make a website yet, so I don't have a website, but I do have Kelly Bowker Medium on Facebook, and I do a lot of events and things, and I posted on that. I have a YouTube channel, which is called Present Moment Magic. Imagine who got that name. It was not me, because all the magic's in the present moment. And I post lots and lots of stuff there. My email address, I believe we're going to put below, won't we? Now, kellybowker7@gmail.com. I do one-to-one meetings. I do groups. I love it when girls get a group together and invite me in, and they all will do a little donation, and I'm part of the party, and I bring them to the party, so it's great fun. And they can ask all the questions that they want. It's great. I do all kinds of stuff, and I'm open to it all. I don't have an agenda, really.
Wonderful. I will have those links in the description so people can check those out. Thank you so much again, Kelley. I've really enjoyed this.
I have enjoyed it as well, Melissa. Thank you, too.
Thank you for watching and listening. Your views, likes, comments, and shares truly make the biggest difference in supporting this channel. Don't forget to check the show notes for all the links to today's guest, as well as my links. You'll find me on social media at Love Covered Life, my website, lovecoveredlife.com, and the Be a Guest link for anybody who would like to be a guest on the channel. I have great news. Love Covered Life podcast is coming available on audio podcast. You can find it wherever you listen to your audio podcasts.